I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati. Yesterday, in our session, we discussed the importance of attitude and behavior that we need to have in our respective workplaces. For today, we are going to see some more information and some valuable inputs, suggestions, and some monitoring tips that are required for shaping our attitude if at all we have to be successful in our professional setups. So let's get started. Right. So by now you would have understood about the concept or the significance of our attitude, ideal attitude in any workplace. So if you are a professional or a novice employee or an experienced employee, no matter who you are, but having a right attitude or like having a proper attitude, that is very important. So in workplaces, this is mandatory. And as I've told you, many researchers and many surveys have been done, or many researchers have come up with an interesting data regarding this kind of concept. And we see 90% of employees in different organizations and different workplaces, they don't carry this sort of decent attitude and professional attitude. So we can also say it as a professional etiquette that's required for balancing our professional and behavioral aspects in any workplace. So now today we'll discuss some more factors that are influencing or that influence attitude. At the same time, we will also see what's the distinction between our behavior and attitude. And also, we will see some more interesting perspectives and aspects or some more important key points that are very important for monitoring, shaping, or conducting ourselves into a great, if you want to be called a great professional, balanced professional, then you have to be on toes all the time, getting updated with different nuances, not only in subject matter, at the same time in behavioral aspects. Right. So now, what are some factors influencing or affecting the attitudes of a professional employee or an employee or a professional or a person or a normal low class employee, or it's right from the bottom in any workplace, right from bottom to top, whoever you are, you need to have this sort of attitude. And if you say that no, I'm a normal employee and I don't hold important positions, but then like I want to be very casual, no, that's not accepted in educational and academic and organizational and professional setups, because you as an employee, there is no right for you to hinder and obstruct the growth of others. At the same time, you cannot affect others with your negative behavior that will really irritate, annoy, at the same time that will hurt, at the same time that will create problems or trouble in one's workspace. So it's an ethical responsibility. It's a social responsibility. It's a professional responsibility, educational, academic responsibility that one needs to have. So it is always good to have this sort of consciousness, this sort of sensitivity, this sort of awareness once you go to any workplace. And I tell you, my dear friends, let me be very sincere and frank with you. 90% of so-called people who are at top positions and in software organizations or wherever you work, take any workplace, they do not have this sort of awareness and consciousness. So this session will be helpful, especially for these people, these professionals who really need some etiquette to be learned. So this will be very helpful, and this is a sort of kind of session helpful session that will enrich them, that will equip them, that will provide them with necessary help, because they must be working for their managers, because they must be very, they're getting tired of different projects or different work responsibilities. So in that position they don't have time to spend on these aspects which are very integral and very important. So if you have to success, if you want to, if you have to, or if you're going to contribute your role to the upliftment of any organization or any setup, you need to pay attention or pay heed to this kind of aspect, important, significant aspect. So now, what are some factors affecting the attitudes or different attitudes that we discussed in the early sessions? Like we discussed, sort of pessimistic attitude, optimistic attitude, demotivated, and a person who is always demotivated because he's not very comfortable, and he's not very comfortable with the challenges that he needs to take up, and as a result he gets demotivated, discouraged, and also he cannot contribute to the efficiency, or he cannot contribute to the growth and development of any organization. So what's your decision at this point? What's your thought at this point? Aren't you responsible for the growth of your institution? Yes, you are there to help grow any particular company or any professional, advanced company, or it's a small company or any software company, wherever you are placed. It is very essential to take into consideration, and this will really make you a person who is aware of social attitude, professional attitude, academic attitude, and as an employee, you have a particular responsibility to balance the workload, and also the role which you need to play, which is laid on your shoulders, to be delivered and to be implemented very successfully. So with this kind of approach, you will be able to become a person who is very comfortable, who is very who performs it with great competence and with affection. And yes, I believe like nobody's perfect, but then attaining perfection, or aiming at attaining perfection, or aiming to balance this kind of role and responsibilities is a good start, or is a good initiative that one should really be bothered about. One should be really taken care of, right? So now, when we discussed factors affect, or there are some important factors that affect the attitude or different types of attitude. They are like the environment which we are surrounded, the the work ambience, everything that's around will definitely kind of like give a sort of encouragement, and also it sometimes gives you discouragement. So what are some possible factors that might affect you in your workplace? So that is right. Let's begin with in a home. This is a very natural, and you cannot even think that this would really play an active role in affecting your work ambience and also workspace, and also your professional performance. Yes, that is definitely this will affect your work performance in your various kind of like organizations or companies that you're really working in. So the home environment into which you were born, certainly, and your childhood culture or upbringing, and this kind of home culture will definitely influence your behavior, and also the kind of brought up by your parents, siblings, relatives, neighbors, and friends, kind of like colleagues. Sometimes, working in any workplace is different, and being brought up in our houses is different. So, what will happen? The kind of brought up you have will bear an impact on the kind of workplace you are into. So that is why you definitely have to realize and acknowledge the role played by this kind of culture, home culture, or kind of your childhood experiences, childhood learning, childhood discipline will definitely kind of like affect your workplace environment. So you have to be very much aware and cautious and be very sensitive to any problems that may arise due to these reasons. So the second thing is educational setup or educational place where you were educated back in your in your childhood and or long time ago you got educated, and the kind of interaction you had with your friends, the kind of interaction you had with your teachers, the kind of interaction you had with your principals in your schools, right? Correspondence, and the kind of interaction you have, the good things that you've learned from the school where you got educated will definitely have an impact on your workplace performance too. So that is why that really shapes your attitude, and that really molds that really molds, and that will tune you to a proper style of behavior. So that is why you have to interact, and especially when you are parents, okay, when you are kind of like teachers, managing the role of or being in the role of parents, you have to make sure that you discipline your child, or make sure you admit your children in good colleges and schools where discipline is given, is proper discipline is given, or proper discipline is taught. Because in workplaces, what happens, you carry the same old character. Some students and some work professionals have very eccentric and strange attitudes, and they are not even aware of the common sense that will really affect others in different ways. So for example, let me give you, you're working in a software company, right? Like where you have to run, or you have to manage a team with a new project, and how is that you're going to contribute to the success of the company? And for example, if you have to give several instructions to the team you are really into, so you call the leader, or you call one of the active members of that team, and you say the responsibilities or the do's and don'ts you have to deliver, you have to tell them. Or what you are trying to do is, you will tell them these are the conditions, these are the rules they have to abide. For example, if you are not a person with good attitude, what do? You just give and leave your work on them, and then you do not tell them what to do and how to do it. And in case if they come up with any queries, if in case they come up with any doubts and so many issues that really they confront with, so how is your attitude? How is your approach? Are you really paying heed to what they're saying? Or are you in a position to give them a solution? Or are you in a position to just escape from what they're saying? Or you just say, no, work is work, and all that you have to do is finish your task. That's all. Is it that you're trying to say? Yes, if you're trying to say, definitely you're in a wrong condition. And if you're definitely, I say, you're in a dangerous condition, because as a leader, that will not help you grow further. Because of this attitude, your growth will really be obstructed and impeded. So you have to pay equal attention to all this, and especially behavioral and attitudinal problems. If you have to be a good successful leader or manager. So now software students and engineering graduates, we train in soft skills. The first thing like we have we have for them is how they conduct themselves, and how they shape their attitudes, and how they really behave well with the companies. So that is very prior to your knowledge, your subject expertise. And if you go and tell, just have a look at the world around you, especially in software companies. You see, they not only want the people with good professional work backgrounds, but at the same time, they need people with good soft skills. And this attitude and behavior, definitely they play or their part, or they're included in this soft skills, which is why we tell you that you need to have a proper attitude, proper behavior in your workplaces, right? So educational place will definitely have its role to play, a place to interact with teachers, school, staff, seniors, peers, and juniors. So the kind of interaction and the kind of work environment you have with them, and that will really influence your opinion on workplaces. Right. Next, workplace. Yes, we are discussing for our workplace, and we are discussing about a workplace. We are discussing of the workplace. So that is like a workplace is something that you relate to experiences with your colleagues, right? Your subordinates, your bosses, and your superiors, and how they treat you or how you treat them will influence your attitude. So your experiences with them, and your kind of like the way you interact with them, and the way you accomplish the tasks that set by your superiors, and will have a great impact on your work performance. Even though if you're a person of good attitude, cheerful attitude, definitely, I tell you, no matter whatever is the challenge, you'll be able to overcome that. So, and you will not be in a position, that you no more move your legs, and you say that no, I'm stuck up, and I cannot move further. Take another step ahead. No, you will not. You will not utter, or you will not chant these words. Instead, you stand and arise and work in your professional setups. So this is very important, workplace, and how you work with them, how you coordinate with them, how you respond to them, how you work along with them, how you cooperate with them will definitely shape your attitude. Their attitude and how they respond to you and how they behave with you will shape your attitude too. So there should be a kind of introspection that should happen for every employee who is working in any company. So if you are kind of like if you are an employee, a novice employee, and you've started your career with uh, great hopes and great ambitions and goals, and there you get disappointed with the workplace around, and as an engineer graduate, so what you say is, no, this is not what I have we've been thinking of or and aspiring for, but and this really upsets me. Now, you should not go into that particular level of discouragement. Instead, rise and attend to your vocation. By what? By introspecting. Lay down the strategies, write down the problems, suggest and propose solutions for yourself, for your problem. And I tell you, you're the only person who will take care of yourself, and there's no one to help you with sometimes. So, and list out and chart out all the respective problems, right? And you can definitely come up with possible solutions. Next, so media is very important. Media also plays an important role. So media and its impact will definitely bear a kind of like positive or negative influence over your life. So its influence on attitude formation is so much, so it's tremendous. So, and the kind of the things that you capture, and you visualize things for yourself, and the kind of impact you have it by watching them, by witnessing, by getting exposed yourself to various things that are happening in social media, and your attitude is shaped accordingly. So what you are exposed to, and how you're exposed to, and what is that input that you really take in, and how much time you're spending observing and learning from the social media, is very important. You have to be mindful of what you are really, trying to, invest your time in. And if you are investing your time in different, unproductive and useless kind of setups or sessions, or kind of environment, then definitely that is going to impact. That's going to, that is going to and impact in a very negative way, and in a way that will hamper your growth and success. So my dear friends, and I would request you to make sure that you are not influenced negatively, because of this media, and your character is further shaped by it, and can be easily misused to change attitude. It can be easily, it can easily mislead you, and you can be misled because of this, sort of media. Right. So that is why you have to pay attention to all these subtle factors that will, hinder your growth in any company. Next, cultural backgrounds. Cultural backgrounds. Also, it is also very useful and, kind of important factor you need to worry about. So your cultural background influences your attitude, the kind of mindset you have it, and you are in some place, and the culture there impacted you. People and your experiences with them, your behavior with them, and your interaction, your situations, your learning with them, and mostly the situations that happen around, kind of business all around you, kind of like your work that you've carried, the kind of culture that you were in some time back, and now you're in different place, that will, you get a sort of cultural shock, that you are shocked by this culture, and which you are never used to before, and after getting shocked, and after getting sort of kind of mental jerks, and you are not able to proceed further. And this is the time you need to pause, understand, and do not be nervous, do not be serious, too serious, and that you don't have to really pay more attention to what is unnecessary. And definitely you can be a master of your own life. And if you're really you're really taking care of all these reasons, right? Next, so, what are some more, factors that will help you? We've seen media, right? And also we've seen cultural background, and also we understood several, like educational, like parenthood and childhood. All these factors will definitely affect your, workplace attitude, and the attitude which you're supposed to have in workplace will not be there in case if you're affected negatively by all the reasons that or factors that we've mentioned. And suppose if you're affected very positively by all the factors that we've just mentioned, then that is really helpful, and that's really useful for your growth. Next, religious background. A religious background is something that you have to, be very careful and mindful, and also the kind of discipline you learn, and the kind of mindset you have, the values you learn, social values, and the values that you really, practice when you are in society, when you are in workplace, when you are in home, when you are in, any, marketplace, right? That will definitely, your attitude will easily be displayed there. And also because of this religious background you have, you are impacted. So that is why you have to get a good exposure always in your life, so that will further shape your attitude and belief system. Next, traditional beliefs. So this is also another factor that will, impact your work performance or work behavior, right? Religious belief is also there, which you have to do it. So, which is why you have to be mindful, which is why you have to be very careful with that. And the beliefs which you really nurture right from your childhood. And if you're unable to, tune them, if you're unable to train them, then what happens is, like, you will be reluctant to change them once you are, once you turn your, once you become a very big man there, or a woman, and you be very reluctant to change your values. So these are very dangerous, and in case if they are short-sighted, and if these are not kind of like, that are not really helpful to you, you have to draw a line, draw a border, and you have to make sure you widen your thinking, and you have to broaden your perspectives. So these also will cause some kind of impact, either negative or positive, in your in your workplaces, with regard to your attitude. Okay, so next factor that also, that causes kind of like, shaping impact, or shaping influence now on your attitude, is like social environment, your, the kind of society you're in, and the kind of social conditions you are in, or you're surrounded, either in your childhood or in your present times. So this will definitely have an impact on your attitude. So, and keeping a very good healthy social environment around yourself is very important. So one should be very mindful of this. Next, another reason or factor that will affect your attitude is like political environment. So the political environment you are in, the kind of influence you have, and the kind of hurts you have, and the kind of good kind of like incentives, or this good kind of like rewards you get it, and facilities you enjoy in your society, from your political setup, will definitely have a very good influence on your attitude. The next factor that will contribute to your attitude is experiences. Experiences of any time, your childhood experiences, and your kind of like educational and workplace, wherever you work there, these will experiences also shape your attitude. Why? They remain on your mind, and and whatever you do it, whatever you perform, this will always remind you, saying that, no, this is a thing that happened to you, and this is a lesson you've learned, and this is a and result you have it, and what do you do as a result? You behave accordingly. So you have to make sure that you draw very good lessons from different experiences you have in your life. Next a possible factor that will really impact your work life or your attitude is your education. The way, education should shape a person. It should not turn a man into beast, right? So you should not be you should not be kind of like, overpowered by negative influence of your rotten society around you sometimes. Instead, education should educate you, but you should not overpower or undermine education that you have had in your life. So this is also very important responsible factor that will further shape and influence your attitude. So these are different factors that will really affect your attitude. Now let's see, how are the differences going to make impact, different kind of like impressions, or different kind of impact on your attitude and behavior. So before that, we have to understand what's the distinction between this attitude and behavior. Are both same, or are both different, or if they're different, in what ways, and what are they? So now let's see the meaning of this attitude. Attitude meaning is refers to a person's mental view regarding the way he or she thinks about something. So the kind of perspective you have towards something, an object or a person or someone or something, the kind of your approach, or the kind of perspective you have, kind of knowledge you have it. So you have to make sure This will this will be the same all throughout it, in case if that is good. So the meaning of this is, like, it refers, attitude refers to a person's mental condition, mental thinking, mental perspective, whereas behavior meaning is like, this, the meaning of this behavior, it implies the action, the actions or moves, your way of conduct, or the way you function, the way you perform. So these functions, moves, actions of an individual towards other persons or other people. So attitude is it is to do with your psyche, mind, the way you think, whereas behavior is to do with the kind of actions, the kind of performance you have, the kind of function you have as an individual towards another person. So this is the basic and very crystal clear distinction between attitude and behavior. So now let's see, and what is this? What is the basis of this attitude, and on what basis this attitude remains? So attitude is based on experience and observation. Attitude is based on experience and observation, whereas behavior is based on situation. Whereas behavior is based on situation. Why? Attitude is to do with your, you learn and take from experience, and you observe the things, that series of things that are happening to you, several long series of things that are happening to you in longer short run, and the kind of decisions you make it. Whereas behavior, it is to do with situations. It is to do with the context around you. It is to do with the things that are around you. So, which is why you have to make sure you know the difference between this kind of attitude and behavior. Next, behavior. What is a trait or characteristic of this behavior or attitude? Now let's see what is the trait of an attitude. So of an attitude of any person, like, for that matter. So the important trait of attitude is human. Characteristic is human, whereas behavior is inborn. See, it is inborn, innate. You're born with. Whereas attitude is something that, like, humanistic, you develop. Now, what is it? The difference between attitude and behavior. What is it in one word? If you say that, somebody asks you, what is it? You mean by attitude, or by attitude. Attitude is like a person's mindset. Attitude is a person's mindset, person's psychology, person's psyche mindset. Whereas behavior is outward expression of attitude. Whereas mindset, thoughts, view, perspectives is something to do with attitude. Whereas behavior is an outward expression of your attitude. See, how you behave, how you conduct, how you perform, how you function is behavior. Now, hope you're getting clear idea between the two. Now, how this attitude reflects, okay, and what the reflection of this attitude is, what do you think or feel? What do you think or feel? Whereas behavior is to what you do. Behavior is what you do, what you're executing, what you're implementing, what you're performing, what you're acting, what you're doing. Whereas attitude will go in that psychological, will be, at psychological level. What you think, what you plan, what you decide in your mind, what you really, think about it, right? That is to do with attitude. Next, attitude, how you can really define this attitude and behavior. Attitude is defined by way we perceive things. Attitude is defined by the way we perceive things, whereas behavior is defined by social norms, right? It is defined by social norms. Look, what are some social norms, right? Professional norms. How you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to speak, how you're supposed to act. Whereas attitude is defined by what we think and what we learn and what we decide. So these are, subtle differences between attitude and behavior. Now, Let me give you some more clarity about this behavior, and so let me throw some more light on this behavior. This term behavior can be described as the way of conducting oneself, the way you conduct yourself, the way you project yourself, the way you show yourself. Like it is the manner of acting or controlling oneself towards other people. It is the manner of acting or controlling oneself. That's right. The way you train your behavior, the way you train your kind of actions is all to do with your behavior, and the way you train your mind is to do with your attitude. So you have to be very careful when you try to use them according to the understanding you gain. Next, behavior range of action. It is range of actions, responses, and mannerisms set by an individual, right? The range of actions and responses set by an individual or system or any organization, mannerisms in association with any environment in any situation. So that's what, like, we thought, like, home, childhood, parenthood, all this will really affect workplace attitude, will really affect your mindset or your attitude. Now, some more differences between attitude and behavior. Right. Now, attitude is defined as, now we saw about, till now we saw this behavior. Now, let us reflect on attitude. Attitude is defined as a person's mental tendency, mental, kind of position that is responsible for his decisions, for his thoughts. Whereas behavior implies or suggests the conduct or how he functions as an individual or a group. Next, as we've already seen, person's attitude is mainly is based on experiences gained by him, whereas this behavior of a person relies completely on the context. It is, if a person behaves in particular way, for example, let me give you a student or an employee behaves so aggressively in any workplace, and we have to understand what might be the context there. Or are other people rude to him, or other people betrayed, or other people do they cheat on him, or what may be the reasons, like keeps performing like that, keeps behaving like that. So it is completely, or it is solely, it is directly, and it is 100% dependent, or this is dependent on this kind of context or situation. So that is a point that we have. Attitude is a person's inner thought. In person's inner thoughts and feelings, it is something internal. It is something that goes inside, whereas behavior is something external. In contrast, behavior is a person's expresses. If attitude is person's attitude, person's thoughts, inner thoughts, whereas behavior expresses a person's attitude, right? So by way of this thinking or feeling, it is reflected as person's attitude, right? A person's conduct is reflected by what? His behavior, way of thinking, perspectives, like belief systems, kind of strong ideologies, strong perspectives are completely due to this kind of attitude, whereas his behavior, his actions are based on his behavior. Next, attitude is defined by the way we perceive things, whereas behavior is ruled completely by social norms. Attitude is defined by way we perceive things from any kind of learning, whereas and it is basically a human trait, right? And behavior is an inborn attribute. Now, how do we have to really take work attitude at workplace? Our behavior at work often depends on how we feel about being there, how we feel about, and what are our interests, what are our feelings in our workplace. Are we really happy there in any company? And that is accordingly we will behave, or accordingly we will show our attitude. Therefore, how people behave with you depends on there. It depends on understanding their work attitude. Again, their attitude towards work, their attitude with their superiors. And that will never reflect in, with you. They behave, in a particular way, and by, possessing a particular tendency, towards some person. So behavior at work often depends on how you feel about being there. Are you satisfied with the work targets? Are you satisfied, for example, if you are working in a company where new products are always being innovated, and you are very nicely encouraged, and also you're rewarded, and at times you're a person who wants to get motivated again and again. But if you're not motivated there, if you're not encouraged by any sort of kind of rewards, or kind of resources or facilities, then you might feel very low about, or you may not feel so encouraged to work in a company. So as a result, you will not give your 100% result. So it's all about how you feel about being there. So that is a point I'm trying to convey. So making sense of how people behave with you depends on the understanding. Whereas an attitude refers to our opinions, beliefs, okay, aspects of our environment. So, and also our attitude towards the food we eat, the people we interact, and the courses and various different things we perform. Right? Now, what are some 5 types of attitude, or the different types of attitude that are important in any workplace? So you have to make sure that you pay attention to this. Number one, respect for others. Having or giving, or nurturing respect for others is number one thing you have to be mindful of. Secondly, infectious enthusiasm about life. Infectious enthusiasm about life. Commitment to the job, innovative ideas and finding new ways. Okay, and helpfulness. These are 5. Inculcating respect for others, and kind of having very great attachment, or being very passionate, and trying to accomplish in different ways, trying to motivate yourself to reach your targets, kind of like that kind of infectious enthusiasm that you might have. So commitment is also very important, and that particular type of commitment to the job you want to have. And innovative ideas and finding new ways. Innovative, you have to be very creative, you have to be very critical sometimes, bringing out these innovative ideas and finding some new ways also, very important. So innovative ideas and finding new ways. Okay, so that is, that will also be helpful. And also helpfulness. This is very important, especially when you are working in, larger masses crowd. You have to coordinate, be helpful to others, and you have to help them in different ways. And also you have to have this job commitment. If you are working in any company or any organization, you have to be committed to the work you are given. You have to be 100% equal. You have to be faithful. You cannot just simply do away with the work that you are assigned to. So having all this, you have to pay attention, respect to others. Have to respect them for what they are. Even if they are people with different weaknesses, you should not undermine them, because you also may have weaknesses in different other areas, and may not be the same areas where that person has. So we have to respect others for their made, just like you, with blood and flesh. So in workplaces, you have to help, you have to be with them. And my dear students who are preparing for placements, give your 100% heed or attention to this aspect, shaping your attitude for attaining, or for receiving, or for getting the success you really desire for. This is very important. So hope this will be very helpful to you, and thank you for your patience and your time. Thank you so much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.